Killing infected, flying around the world, living out your parkour dreams, and getting scared of the dark. Dying Light 2 brings everything from Dying Light 1 and more, but is it worth a buy? Let's find out. Hey, let me know in the comments down below what questions you have about Dying Light 2. I'll be sure to get back to you and answer them for you. Now let's get into the review.
Welcome to paradise.
Dying Light 2 is a sequel to Techland's 2016 hit Dying Light, which I had a blast with and played the DLCs when they released. Dying Light 2, however, is set 15 years after the events in Harran and in a new city, keeping the core gameplay loop based around the day being safe for humans and the night being the realm of the infected. I've put about 25 hours in so far, and I originally planned to push through the game's main story to get a final review out at the embargo, but the more I played, the more the world overtook me. I played Dying Light 2 on PC and I played on the ray tracing preset, and for the most of my playthrough I was able to get a steady 60 frames per second with some dips here and there until I got to the central loop, which is the big city section of the game. When I got here, my frames absolutely tanked to below 20 and I had to turn the ray tracing off, and this was without the day one patch or the NVIDIA driver, so your mileage may vary, but graphically as a whole the game is beautiful. The open world is pretty and enjoyable to look at. There's plenty of depth in what you're looking at with the different structures and the city around you and people and infected everywhere. The lighting is like a huge standout as it breaches through the open windows and doors. It's all very high quality, and I could definitely see this game looking beautiful when they fix the ray tracing performance issues. Dying Light 2's world isn't the biggest open world out there, nor is it really trying to be. In the opening area of the game, locations are about 3 to 4 story buildings with human settlements on the roofs and infected all over the ground level. A large amount of these buildings are open and accessible during the day, but preferably by night, as the infected leave the safety of the dark at night, allowing you to access these indoor locations with little resistance. You'll eventually unlock a second high-rise city area similar to the original, where verticality is more important than maneuverability. The world is dense and well realized, with side quests, challenges, boss fights, and other optional locations to explore by night or by day. Some of these side quests can get repetitive, as they often boil down to talking to 1 or 2 people or collecting some materials, but there is enough differing activities surrounding that side content to keep the overall experience enjoyable. Dying Light 2 has really stepped up the night gameplay compared to its predecessor, with quests and objectives that can only be completed under the cover of darkness, raising the stakes and the tension of these moments as you try to complete your goal while avoiding the infected in the city, and as well as the new chase mechanics like a GTA-style police chase system where higher level infected will start chasing you as you level up your chase meter. The sound design adds to this tension perfectly, as you know exactly when you've messed up.
Wait, you got a hit list? Seriously?
Do I look like I'm kidding? The city's got a lot of trash, and I'm the maid who's gonna make it the capital of cleanliness.
The soundscape is solid, whether you're running through the streets or creeping through the dark zones. I was actually really surprised how much I was enjoying the music until I started to get this bug where the combat music would continually play, and it seemed the only way to resolve it was by reloading the game.
And just ask them to let me through?
No chance.
That's the only major bug that I have had, other than a couple of separate little graphical issues here and there. The voice acting is hit and miss, with some characters sounding terrible, with some, like Luan, sounding fantastic. The weapons have meaty hit sounds, whether you're hitting them on infected or human enemies. They all have really good tinging sounds as they do hit each other. Techland tried to marry combat and parkour together in the original Dying Light, and it feels like they've truly realized their vision with Dying Light 2. You are given a very small set of tools to begin the game, and as you level up your combat and parkour skills simply by performing these actions, your arsenal of moves expands greatly. I love the way that each of these skills feels important and has weight. You're not simply increasing a stat by 1 or making small adjustments to your character. Each new skill is a new way to tackle the city and fight off infected or run away from the infected that would otherwise harm you. Guns are gone in Dying Light 2 in favor of tightening up the melee combat, though if you prefer ranged, you will get access to bows and crossbows with accompanying skills to match. I've really enjoyed the combat as a whole against the infected, though human enemies can get a bit dry. There is something inherently fun about kicking someone off a roof or landing that perfect block and staggering the enemy. For how varied the infected are and the different challenges that they possess, the human enemies are a bit of a letdown. For the most part, these encounters boil down to fighting 3 or 4 enemies at once, and they take it in turns to swing their weapon at you, and as long as you can block them, you can pretty much just cheese them until they die. There is some complexity there with having the occasional ranged user as you get further into the game, or a two-handed weapon user, but for the most part, the human enemies, you just kick them off a roof and keep on trucking. The stealth mechanics in the game feel a little underbaked, and in some cases it's hard to tell whether the game expects me to stealth or not. In the dark areas when you're exploring at night and all of the zombies inside are asleep, for the most part you can just crouch and walk through the ball and collect all the resources that you like. There are areas where you can hide from the 1 or 2 enemies that will be actually walking around, but in a lot of cases you can take them out quietly without waking up the entire pack around you. And outside of these areas on rooftops, you'll find grassy areas where you can hide in, as well as hide under tables and other various objects, but I'm not sure what they're for in the open world, as you would be parkouring or running away from things in the most part if you do get seen, or if you don't want to take them on head to head. As Aiden, you arrive in the city while looking for your long-lost sister, and while trying to find out any information you can, you meet many interesting characters along the way, and as with any good main character, you solve all of their problems for them, whether they like it or not. Luan is a standout character played by Rosie Dawson. From the moment she is introduced, I was much more engaged in the overall narrative. The cast is diverse and there are plenty of characters to love or hate along the way. The main narrative does feel like it drags in some parts, but it feels like that's a choice that I have made to continue a certain line rather than the overall narrative, as it seems that there is some stuff that you can avoid by certain choices that you make. The choice and consequence was something that I was very interested in seeing with Techland introducing that into Dying Light 2, and there are plenty of moments where along the main narrative you have to make some sort of a time decision, and these moments do feel impactful and feel like there is weight to them, which is exactly how they should feel. I'm very interested to play this game again and make different choices to see if it does change the outcomes of the story that are playing out in front of me. I would have liked some of the side content to have more weight to the main narrative, as you are often interlaced with the characters that are directly related to the main story. However, their stories are separate and often don't reflect their opinions or changes that have happened based on the main story. There is a couple of characters where you'll do multiple side quests for, but their actual attitude towards you won't change depending on how you have chosen to make decisions in the past quests that you have done for them. As a whole, there is a lot to enjoy in Dying Light 2, despite some minor flaws, and as one of the big releases in a stacked 2022, I hope this game gets the props it deserves. I will not pass a final rating as I haven't completed the main story yet. When I do, I'll have a pinned comment down below with my final opinions on the game, but as the game stands now, being about 3/4 through the story as a whole, Dying Light 2 is a buy if you are a fan of the original. Fans of the original, I think, will be very happy with the changes that they have made. If you aren't a fan of the original and you are looking to play Dying Light 2 without playing the first game, you can do that. There isn't really anything that you must know from the first to play the second. Even as a newcomer, the game is well worth playing. There's some tight mechanics, some interesting gameplay. The parkour is still as satisfying as the original. It's definitely worth checking out, in my opinion. I will have a tips video coming out for Dying Light 2 as long as more content, so make sure you're subscribed, ring the notification bell, all that good YouTube stuff. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.